There's a natural mystic blowing through the air. If you listen carefully, now you will hear. It could be the first trumpet, might as well be the last. Many more will have to die, many more will have to cry. Don't ask me why.
Good afternoon. Today is May 29th, 2011. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully you have the day off. I'm on call. I'm not necessarily off work, but it's been a pretty light day and I'm taking a break. So I wanted to address the scheduling issue and the medical only issue of cannabis. This keeps coming up. There's lots of groups trying to reschedule cannabis. That's something I don't agree with, I don't want. And this is why. First, if we want to talk about the medicalization of cannabis, all that really does is gives certain individuals, a class of people who are in the business, a monopoly, or better defined as an oligopoly. These oligopolies, by definition, lobby for regulations so that their market and their business succeed over others, so that other people are shut out of the business and they are included inclusively with only a few select people cooperatively, not necessarily individually, but a small group of businesses collectively get together and ask for restrictions and regulations so that it locks others out of the business. What it doesn't do is help from keeping people from being arrested. It does not help the states lower their cost of prohibition. It does not help in a lot of regards, and it certainly doesn't help the mom and pop business. Here we go with what California drug arrests have seen since 1990. In 1990, the year of 1990, there were 20,834 misdemeanor marijuana possession arrests. In 2008, there were 61,388 misdemeanor marijuana arrests for possession. So that means that there's a threefold increase after they've had medical marijuana legalized there in this state, the state that I'm in right now. That doesn't say that medical marijuana has helped anything as far as people being protected, to me, And then let's look at the felony sale manufacture of marijuana. In 1990, there were 16,819 arrests. In 2008, there were 17,126 arrests. There's an increase there. It's not a huge increase, but there's an increase. So I don't see how, medical marijuana laws have helped protect anybody, except for a small select few of the people who are in business making millions off of cannabis. There's very few people who are getting major benefits from this. So my proposal is just to unschedule cannabis like any other herb, like rosemary, thyme, echinacea, ginseng, whatever. I mean, it doesn't kill anybody. Aspirin kills more people than cannabis does. Aspirin kills around 7,500 people in the United States each year. Cannabis kills nobody. Why is it regulated? Why is it restricted when it's a God-given plant that has so many benefits, including industrial benefits, medicinal benefits, food benefits, fuel benefits, so many benefits, and we're not utilizing that because of these regulations and restrictions and these people who say that it's medical only. So let's consider what they're trying to do. So many people in this movement now are like, well, if we can't win the fight on legalization, let's just reschedule it. Well, Timothy Leary, and let me just give a shout out to those people. This is Memorial Day. Let's give a shout out to some of those POWs and some of those people who have passed that preceded us. Timothy Leary for legalizing cannabis for almost a year in this country in 1969. Jack Herer for all the work he did. Rest in peace. All these very strong cannabis advocates. Michelle Rainey up in Canada, who passed. Who preceded us and a lot of us in this movement, who has helped in a lot of ways. Mark Emery, who is in prison. Eddie Lepp. Roger Christie, who doesn't even have bail. He hasn't been charged, really. I mean, he's been charged, but he hasn't even had a hearing. He's just waiting in jail. He hasn't had any bail set or anything. So, all these people, so many that I'm going to forget to mention, but, thank you for all that you've done. All these, POWs that are in there right now or who have been in there in the past. I myself was there. Also, just raising my dad up. He passed away in 2008. Toked a little bit in the military, but was more of a, Mormon afterwards, and didn't do much of any of that afterwards, after the military. But, he's passed. He fought in the army. He went to the Berlin crisis, he said, and lots of other things, and before I was born. So, just those people in our military, I want to lift them up, and thank you for your sacrifice. Anyway, so let's get into it. Schedule 2 drugs. Are any of these drugs made by anybody but Big Pharma? Are they distributed by anything but pharmacies? And the answer to that is no. There's opiates, there's stimulants, there's depressants, there's even cannabinoids, naboline, or nabolone. I don't know what that is exactly, but it's a cannabinoid. And all of these will get you jail time if you possess them illegally. If we have anything to do with any of these without a prescription, we go to jail. I was in jail with people who had illegal possession of these drugs, and they were in there because they didn't have their prescription, or they didn't, follow the rules and the regulations strictly, and so they ended up in jail. None of these drugs can be used in an industrial process outside of the pharmaceutical industry either. Which is important to consider when we consider how beneficial industrial hemp is. Schedule 3 drugs. All of these are also controlled by Big Pharma. Stimulants, depressants, narcotics, steroids, hallucinogens. One of the hallucinogens is dronabinol, or I think that's basically Marinol, and that's also a cannabis derivative. Schedule 4 drugs. All of these are also controlled by Big Pharma. Not by the little guys. Listen, these are all by Big Pharma. Narcotics, depressants, fenfluramine, and stimulants. I don't know what fenfluramine is, but it's listed there. And you can look at all these up on Wikipedia. So how is it beneficial that we reschedule cannabis? Because it's not on Schedule 1? Well, at least in Schedule 1, Big Pharma doesn't get their money behind cannabis, and they can't utilize their 150 patents, and they can't take the industry away from mom and pop. In Schedule 1, it goes to the states, and it's more of a states issue than a federal issue because states are ready to fight for this, and states are making laws about this, and states are allowing this. So I think that Schedule 1 is better than Schedule 2, 3, 4, 5. But that still doesn't leave any room for industrial hemp, which is so very important when we can make fuel, food, construction materials, clothing, medicine, and so on and so forth out of hemp. And when we have to import it from other countries, that means our farmers are losing out. And other industries in other countries are benefiting from our prohibition. We need to start benefiting from our crops that we could grow in bounty in this country. I mean, we have such fertile farmlands, and we have so many farmers that are out of work right now that have their land in land banks or are losing the farm to foreclosure. We need to put them back to work. I would like to be a farmer in the industrial hemp business. And I would, if industrial hemp was legalized, I would buy me a plot of land, no questions asked, right away, and I'd start farming hemp. Whatever it took, I would get into that business. That's what I want. Now, when it comes to, the whole idea that cannabis is medicine only, no, cannabis is also medicine, but it's not medicine only. This whole theory about having cannabis medical only is just to make monopolies and oligopolies happy. It doesn't make the rest of us happy. It doesn't keep people out of jail, and it doesn't benefit society. It benefits a select few of people, and that's it. And I don't agree with that. This is a God-given plant, just like tomatoes. It has less harm than aspirin, and it shouldn't be considered something that needs regulations or prohibitions. So I don't agree with rescheduling. I don't agree with the medicine-only theory. I agree that cannabis came from God. It can be used as, social or consumer cannabis. It can be used as spiritual cannabis. It can be used as medicinal cannabis. It can be used as industrial cannabis. It can be used as fuel, all these other things that we need right now to help our society recover from our extreme deficit and depression that we're in. This is not something that needs to be controlled. That's my final thought on this. I'm not going to, consent to give and take when it comes to me giving up my freedoms. What was it? Those who would sacrifice liberty for security deserve neither. Look that up. That's a great quote from history. Benjamin Franklin, I believe Voltaire came up with it. But so many, in our founding fathers, in the, basically the first principles of our Constitution was based on this theory that liberty is more important than security. And I agree with that 100%. And I do not agree with scheduling cannabis. I do not agree with the regulations. I want to go back to May 19th, 1969. Happy Memorial Day. Bless those who have came before us and those who have passed. And take care, people. Let's fight for one united cause, which is liberty, not regulation.
Cinderella and her long lost pillow in the midnight hour, she lost her silver slipper. Humpity Dumpty sat on the wall while Jack and Jill had themselves a fall. It's just a